Well, hello. Here we are. Another great interview for Kato Reviews. But first, I'm looking good, feeling good, loving life. I hope you can say the same. Today, our guest, he is a trainer, a wrestler, a booker. He is Mr. Quinn Magnum.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
This is great. Let's just jump right into it. How did the love of wrestling start for you?
For me, actually, I think it was a little bit later than most. I remember I grew up as a Catholic. And then there's actually a story to this. So I grew up a Catholic, and every Saturday morning had to go to catechism, which means I got to miss all the Saturday morning cartoons and everything else. But where we went to church at, my grandfather lived a block away. So once I got maybe 10, 11 years old, I was allowed to go down to my grandfather's house. When I did that, the one time I showed up and he was watching the tail end of NWA wrestling. And I remember distinctly that it was Ricky Steamboat. It was about 1983, 1984. It was Ricky Steamboat. Come running in, did his big save and everything else, and right there and then I was hooked. So now, every Saturday, I'm running. You know, out of church, straight down to my grandfather's house to catch the last 20 minutes of NWA wrestling. And then finally, like about 1986, I think we got cable. And then at that point, I just watched it all, world class, WWE, NWA, all that stuff. I was just hooked from that point on.
Do you have some favorites growing up?
Well, Magnum TA. I mean, Quinn Magnum, Magnum TA. Always liked his intensity with his interviews. Doing, I don't know, to me back then, doing the belly-to-belly suplex off the ropes was just the coolest thing. He beat people in 5 seconds. I like the Road Warriors. I was a big NWA fan, more so than anybody. Four Horsemen, loved to hate them. I got to appreciate them as it went on. You know, I mean, it was basically the first super group that there was. Ric Flair, stuff like that. I mean, I watched the WWE. I didn't miss it. I liked Hulk Hogan, and then I hated him. And I don't know why. It was just more.
Probably because you became a teenager.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was a scenario to where it's like, okay, when the hell is he gonna lose? You know what I mean? It's like he beats King Kong Bundy, he beats Andre Johnny, he beats this guy, beats this guy, beats this guy. Who's gonna beat him? And then I guess finally, who was it? Ultimate Warrior that did it? Mm-hmm. What, WrestleMania 5 or something like that. So, but it was mostly NWA guys. To me, it seemed like it was more realistic. You know what I mean? They base it more in reality than anything, as opposed to WWE was more, I think, cartoonish. I mean, they literally had a cartoon. So, but I mean, I liked them all. I mean, World Class Championship Wrestling. I watched the Von Erichs and Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez, and they did the whole thing where they lost their hair and came back, under the mask and stuff like that. So I remember all that stuff.
How did you first find out about independent wrestling?
I didn't have a clue what independent wrestling was at all. I played sports in high school, stuff like that. And it got to the point that I had a choice. I actually had a tryout set up with, I don't know if you remember the World Football League years and years ago, with the Baltimore Stallions. I had a tryout set up with them. And to me, it was like, I was either going to play football, I was going to be a pro wrestler. And the only person that I knew that was doing any kind of wrestling around the area was Bubba on the radio show. So I was calling the radio show, trying to get a hold of Bubba. Never got a hold of him, Finally, I get my tryout set up for the football, and I finally get a hold of Bubba. He's like, oh yeah, I do the wrestling. You want to come down and check it out? I'm going to set you up. Some guy's going to call you, the trainer's going to call you and stuff like that, and we'll set you up with everything. It's like, okay. So I did it, and it was Paul Atlas that called me. He's very quick, to the point. Want to be a wrestler? Yeah. Well, then get your ass down here. That's basically what it was.
You just put football in the back burner after that? Did you go to the tryout?
I did not go to the tryout. I think it was literally that weekend or, a few days later that I went and did the wrestling tryout, and
did you ever regret not going to the football tryout?
When I get irritated about wrestling, yeah.
Okay.
Obviously you think about that. What could have been. I mean, I was, 22 years old at the time. I don't know. I thought that the wrestling was more the thing to do. So, I mean, it's really not much to regret. I mean, I got 2 great kids out of it and everything else, great wrestling career, a lot of good friends, so I don't really regret it that much.
How about training in those early days? What was it like for you?
Hell.
Was there things you found harder than other things?
The cardio part of it in wrestling is, in my opinion, is totally different than the cardio of anything else. Like, whenever I was you know, like I said, I was looking for wrestling or football. So the only thing I knew was the NFL Combine tryout, which was how many times you bench press 225 pounds, how fast you run a 40-yard dash, all this other stuff. So I had myself down under 5 flat on the 40-yard dash. I was bench press 225, you know, 20 times, stuff like that. And what I wasn't ready for is when you get in wrestling, it's a lot of start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. You know, and at that point, I wasn't ready for that. You know, I was like, hey, I'm in halfway decent shape. I mean, I was tall and lanky, it looked like a Barry Windham, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But still, at that point, I was, you know, I was still strong. I felt like I was in good condition. And then I got in the wrestling ring. And it was, like I said, it was a lot of start to stop, and everything else. But you get used to it, you know, and I felt like I got used to it right away. I know Paul and Brian Anthony, they're my trainers. And what they used to do was they would stretch you until you actually showed that you can do something. And I've seen a couple guys, and I won't say, actually I will say some names. Todd Thompson, Kid Ego, I think it took him 2 months before he got done being stretched, before he actually learned anything. You know, me being bigger, I had an advantage. So it went fairly quickly. So, you know, I mean, I started learning the moves, stuff like that. The psychology is probably the hardest thing putting together. I think it's the hardest thing for anybody. You know, knowing when to do something, when not to do something, how to react to the crowd, while still remembering what you're trying to have to do. You know, I think that, and I mean, hell, I know, I'm still learning psychology 22 years later. You never stop learning, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know if you agree with that.
No, 100%, yeah.
I mean, the second you feel like you stop learning is the second you need to get out of wrestling.
Do you have any memories of your first match? Who was your first match?
It was me and Crusher Hansen, who then was known as Bone Crusher.
Oh, Bone Crusher.
Yeah, and Gentleman Joe Perry against Leviathan and Bubba the Bulldog. I was a train wreck.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What all went wrong? Did anything go right?
I don't think anything went necessarily wrong, as opposed to your first match, you go out there and you're in a handicap match with a manager who doesn't know what the hell he's doing, basically. You know, I mean, no offense against Joe. Joe's a great guy. He was real nice to me. You know, he took me underneath his wing, stuff like that. But if you ever needed Joe to hit a spot, as far as like breaking up a pin or something like that, forget it.
Don't you feel like 90% of managers are that way, though?
Yeah. I mean, there's very few. You're right. You're right about that. But then what happened was, I mean, you know, you had Leviathan, who's bigger than me, you know, and he had me in the corner. I remember he's literally choking me for real. I'm like, the fuck? You know? So,
right.
I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah, anything you want.
Oh, okay, good, because I got trucker's mouth. But, you know, and I mean, it went okay. I mean, Crusher led the whole match. He took everything in the match and stuff like that. I had like 2 things. I was a mute bodyguard. I wasn't allowed to talk.
Okay.
So, which was a good thing, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing back then. So, I might not know what the hell I'm doing now. I don't know.
Do any of us know what we're doing?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So you had a few years go by. Eventually, you became the NWA North American Champion. What was that like for you?
That was a cool moment. The match was terrible, but it was a cool moment. I mean, I know the main event of that show was Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles. And I know that there was, I think it was like 17 matches on that show, which was just ridiculous. And it was a small place. It was a place like what we wrestle in now. You know what I mean? It held maybe 200 people. It was down in Tampa, Florida. I do remember it. I wrestled a guy named Spider. He's from Canada somewhere. And I just remember he was insistent on doing this springboard, not a springboard, but a somersaults, whatever the hell, elbow thing or whatever. And it was about 2 minutes in the match, and he goes to do it, and he just crumbles in front of me. And at that point, if you pick it up, you'll see it. Like an idiot, I hit it, and I registered it. At that point, I was like, yeah, screw this, I'm done. So I mean, I literally said to the crowd, you just want to see me put this guy through the goddamn mat? And I told him, I said, we're going home. He goes, no. I said, yeah. And boom, we just went home. It was like 4.5 minutes. But I mean, winning the title was really cool. Guys like Barry Windham, I mentioned earlier, had won it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, to be able to win a title that guys that I grew up idolizing, that was really cool.
Yeah.
You know.
Let's back up just a little bit. So it seems as though you've been a PWX, NWA East guy the majority of your career. Almost all of it, correct?
Correct.
In the late 90s, it really feels like maybe that was the heyday of PWX.
Yeah.
What were you guys doing then that was really working right?
Yeah, TV. I think TV was a big thing. Back then, that was, you know, you didn't have the internet. You know, I mean, you did, but it's the very, very, very beginning of it. So TV was the big drawing board. You had a bunch of guys that wanted to work together to achieve something that hadn't been achieved in this area, I don't think, at that point. You know, and what you had is a bunch of guys that were working, literally working together to make something happen. I mean, it didn't matter if it was during the show, after the show, in training. I mean, whether it was taking down the ring to paint the walls or whatever, everybody was there. I mean, literally, you had 20 guys there that we all had one common goal, you know, and quite honestly, in my opinion, I think we kicked ass in what we did. I think everybody brought a different perspective, different character. I mean, you had the Wrong Crowd, you had the Web, you had Rage, you had 97, you know, you had Shirley Doe running around, you know, not knowing who he is. I remember a time he was running around imitating different characters, you know, like a Hulk Hogan, or, you know, and then he did the leg rock or whatever. I mean, it was a good mixture of talent. I think he captured lightning in the bottle is what we did.
Okay. Who would you say were some of your favorite opponents you've ever worked with, and why?
That's a good question. I know, like, Crusher Hansen, we started out as a tag team, and I mean, we literally had maybe 30 different double team moves. I mean, we'd just go there for hours and, you know, just come up with moves. And from that, it just kind of naturally transitioned into, okay, well, now we're going to do a feud, you know, and it just clicked. You know, we weren't afraid. We knew we were going to take care of each other, but we weren't afraid to beat the hell out of each other, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
You know, and I mean, to have people suspend belief for a second and say, oh my God, I think he really hit him. You know what I mean? But it really didn't. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that works. I know in my early guns, I did some stuff with the Wrong Crowd. I learned a lot there. Obviously, my teachers, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that was some good stuff in the tag teams. I think it was me and T. Ranchla that did a feud with the Wrong Crowd, and they did a thing where he broke my arm and all this other stuff. That was fun stuff. I do remember one particular match at the Butler Fairgrounds where Shirley Doe and I think we were in a ring for maybe 45 seconds. Instead, we're up in the stands, and, you know, I mean, it was a big arena, and we're up in the stands, and we're down on the, you know, runway where they're doing the monster, doing the monster truck stuff like that, everywhere, all over the place. That was really fun, actually. Yeah. Had some good stuff with Brandon K. T. Ranchland and I went for like 2 years. I mean, it was just, you know, two big guys just beating the hell out of each other as well. You know, so, I mean, that's probably mostly, I mean, and I'm saying all the stuff back in the late 90s, basically. So
you're a great big guy, 6'5", 6'6", somewhere in there. You have the right look. I mean, I've seen, even in later years, you do big stuff off the top rope. Why do you think you never made it to the next level?
Laziness on my part. Be perfectly blunt.
How so?
I don't think I put in the extra mile to get to where the next step was. You know, I mean, I think guys have it a little easier now. You know what I mean? They have the tools to be able to, I mean, you literally can go and pay to get into a WWE tryout or whatever, or Ring of Honor tryout, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's what you have to do to make yourself noticed. Back then it was harder, but at the same time, I just, quite honestly, I don't think I put the work in. I got married, and at that point I kind of became satisfied with being a big fish in a small pond. So, I mean, to answer your question as bluntly as possible, I think I was fucking lazy.
Mid early 40s now. I already asked you once about regrets. Do you have any regrets about, you know, not putting in the work, or are you satisfied with how things have turned out? Do you ever ask yourself, what if?
Oh,
if
yeah.
I had got, I mean, for you have to, because you have to at least think that, oh, I was big enough, I was athletic enough. Do you have regrets of saying, damn it, I wish I could go back in time? And
yeah, I could. There's a few things, obviously. Injuries took their toll. I did a lot of stupid stuff. It was during the ECW era, you know, and in my head it was like, okay, well, how many holy shit chants can I get? You know, as opposed to just going out there and working a match like you're supposed to. And I did like 2 or 3 years of that, and it was just, it took a toll on the body. You know, I mean, I tore an ACL, I broke my neck, all that other fun stuff. And I think that kind of discouraged me a little bit as well. You know, I mean, and the thing was, I mean, I remember they brought Jim Cornette in, and we had a working relationship with the WWE, WWF back then. Brought Jim Cornette in, he's come down just to look at some of the guys. And I remember after the match, I was actually in the match that he managed. And after the match, he had told me that, you know, he goes, oh, you got great intensity. You're like a young Nikita Koloff. To me, it was a huge compliment.
Sure.
You know. And instead of taking that and actually saying, okay, let's work a little harder, instead, I'm 22, 23 years old. Now I think I'm something special. I'm not something special. Not at all. And as a result, I didn't go as far as I probably could have. But then, you know, I did a couple things with the WWE. You know, I got to do some stuff there. I had a small cup of coffee, a couple appearances, you know, whatever. But at the same time, yeah, I do ask what if, for sure.